This Land Rover Defender 90 hasn't ran in 5 or so years, so today we're gonna see if we can get it going. My dad bought this brand new in 1995 and has put quite a few off-road miles on it, but overall it's pretty low on the odometer. With only 51,405 miles, most of these were off-road, going to, like, on the trail or going to the trail. The reason why it hasn't ran in so long is because the fuel pump died, and these are kind of like a weird thing to replace. The fuel lines have these weird ferrule fittings that you see on, like, ferrule, however you say it, that you typically don't see on fuel lines. It's kind of a pain to drop the tank down. My dad and I did come out here a few weeks ago, did get the new fuel pump in, but now we need to put a battery in it, put some gas in it, see if there's any leaks, and then see if it'll start up, fingers crossed. I also have a fuel filter to go in it and some other little things to get it going. This is a really cool rig. My dad built this back in the day for rock crawling. You know, nowadays rock crawlers are these crazy tube chassis things, but back in the 90s, this is about all that you needed. It's just got some old man emu springs, some Rancho shocks, and a couple of things like these little corner protectors and just stuff to try and keep the thing as safe as possible. These are rock sliders I think my dad designed. Now, if you've been around rock crawling for a long time, especially in Arizona, you'll recognize the brand Desert Rover, as that's my dad's brand. He built a bunch of parts for these old Land Rovers back in the day. And I know compared to the modern tube chassis rigs and things, this may not seem all that exciting, but these Defender 90s were really capable off-road vehicles even from the factory. One of the things that's kind of funny to me is that it only has a 3.9 liter V8, and this came out of like a boat or something like that. There was kind of a weird thing to be able to bring these to the States, and that's what they did, is they used an American V8. I think that was cheap and plentiful. I forget the exact story on it. A lot of the stuff that you see on this customized, my dad did design, right? So like the rock sliders here, the doors, those are his design. The front bumper is his design. A lot of stuff like that. There's also some spring droops in the back and stuff that other people didn't have available at the time, and he decided to come up with a solution for it. Let's go ahead and change this fuel filter, and then we'll put the battery in to see if we got any fuel leaks from all the fuel lines I put on it. The fun thing about working on these old British cars is you never know what size of tools you're gonna need. So I need a 20 millimeter for the filter and a 16 millimeter for the line, which is really, really weird sizing here. I also have no idea what is going to come out of this. I don't know if anything's going to come out, or if it's going to be straight varnish or what. There was a bunch of gross varnish stuff in the fuel tank. Oh man, that smells rank. Ugh. Huh. This is pretty okay. What size is this? Oh, of course, that's not. Maybe that's a 14? It was a 13 millimeter. Get that out of the way. And nothing came out of it. The filter looks, oh, there it goes. The filter looks really new. It's a Wix filter. Oh, gross. It smells really bad though. We have an OEM style filter going back in this. This is from Molly. It's pretty good stuff, so it's not like we had bad stuff before, but this comes from a website called Rovers North, I think. They do a lot of Land Rover parts, so this is where we buy all of our stuff. Low torque design. It's telling me to tighten to a maximum of 12 foot-pounds, so we'll have to calibrate my fingers for 12 foot-pounds. We're just kind of not going to snug that down all the way. We'll get it close. Yeah, I'd say that's about 12 foot-pounds. Yeah, there we go. That's 12 foot-pounds again. And let's, there we go. The batteries for these things go under the driver's seat, which is kind of nice because there's plenty of room for all kinds of batteries to fit in here. Oh, what is... Battery's hooked up. It's doing something. Right, I'm not starting it. I'm just turning the key to let the fuel pump prime. One of the other things we had to do because it was sitting for so long was I had to replace the ignition switch, which, okay, so this is a left-hand drive version of a British vehicle. So the ignition switch is actually over here on the left side. Fuel pump primes. I can hear it priming. Let's just do that a couple of times. Okay, cool. Oh, there's no gas in the tank. We're just gonna put a bit of this premium 91 in the tank because there is a bunch of old, gross stuff in there. You don't normally have to run premium in this. This is kind of like a farm vehicle, honestly. They're not picky about much. I'm not trying to put a ton in, just enough to fill the fuel system and leak check it. Because the fuel tank is not all the way bolted in yet. Now we can leak check it. I gotta be honest, I love the sounds that this makes. All right, let's go see if we got any leaks anywhere. Nothing leaking from the fuel filter, that's a good sign. And those are the fuel lines there. I don't see anything coming down from up top, so I think that we're good to put more fuel in it and fire it up. I almost forgot there's a couple of bolts I gotta tighten up. I should probably check the oil before I try starting this, so that looks pretty good. It's full and clean, but oil's old, so I don't want to run it for too long. Plus the air filter isn't on it, so I don't want to suck in a bunch of stuff. I just want to see if it'll start up. All right, here's the test. Key. Make sure it's not in gear or anything. Parking brake engaged. Clutch in. Oh yeah. Purrs nicely. Well, that wasn't good. It started and runs great, but the oil pressure light came on and the oil pressure gauge is reading 0. These tend to have some weird stuff with the oil pumps on them. If they sit for a long time, they can lose prime. So I'm a little worried about that. It's not terribly hard to fix. I just don't want to have to do it. So we're just going to start with changing the oil and see if that lets it build oil pressure. Of course, I run out of gloves. Oh, this is going to shoot over here, isn't it? It's going to shoot all over the place. Wearing the gloves right before doing an oil change. Oh, holy cow! Oh, that shot way over there. Gross. Oh, this is filling up. Why is it not draining down? That's gonna overflow. Come on, come on, come on. I don't want to jam my thumb in this, but it looks like I'm gonna have to. Yep. Ugh. Why isn't that draining down? Oh, it is, just very slowly. Ugh. That is not ideal. Oil change is done. I only made a little bit of a mess. We got some fresh conventional motor oil in it and then also topped off with a Wix filter because Wix, in my opinion, is one of the best filters out there. Let's go ahead and see if this allowed us to bring, oh, you can't see me there, if this allowed us to bring oil pressure back. There's our oil pressure light, so we'll see if that stays on, and then there's our oil pressure gauge. It's an old mechanical gauge with the plastic hose, so that could be part of the problem, but there's our ignition switch there. Let's find out. Oil light is on. Oil pressure still 0. Oh, there we go. It's off. Oil change sorted that out. Woohoo! This is so funny. The tachometer is so small over here. What do we got? That's our parking brake. I got a 4-wheel drive light on? Oh, we're in neutral over here. That's probably why. But hey, it works. Cool. Good deal. All right. We don't have an air filter, so we're just gonna take it for a short little drive, just to make sure it's all good. So far, we're looking pretty good. All right. Okay, I can definitely hear a suspension component clicking. So that's gonna be something I'm gonna have to take care of. Oh yeah. Yeah, suspension is clicking. I think that's coming from the front right. All right, now we're gonna turn back around. Hey, our coolant temp is good. I'll go back this way. Wow, this windshield is dusty. Clutch works. Oh yeah. Yeah, we got the suspension to fix. But it runs really good for sitting for so long. I was thinking I might have to do a tune-up with some new sparkulators and stuff like that, but I don't think so. All right, let's go ahead and back it back in here. I gotta put the camera down. First time in the sun under its own power in 5 or more years. I am really looking forward to getting this totally roadworthy for my dad. Super dusty. Hopefully once it's roadworthy, then we can go take it to go hit some trails soon. It needs some tires, needs some suspension work. Not a lot, just a lot of minor things, I think, and then it'll be ready to go. I call that a success. I found the suspension noise as well, so something I have to address next time, but at least we know it runs and drives. Woohoo! This is the suspension issue. This is the front shock. It's behind here, but up here, that's just moving around. That is not tight anymore. And that's the front left, and then when I looked at the front right, oh, hang on. That's the front right, and then when I looked at the front left, the driver's side, it is similarly loose up here. So these front shocks need to be tightened down, maybe need to be replaced. I'm not sure. But it runs, it drives, it smells like something's burning, because something probably is. It's been sitting parked for a long, long time. Once we get the air filter back on it, then we can actually, drive it a bit more. Got to tighten up that suspension up there though, but yeah, he's good.